Welcome back to ACB Wrestling Talk, your main source for wrestling news and wrestling discussions. I'm, of course, your host, Alexis Carrillo, and let's get into some wrestling talk. Today's Friday. We've already made it throughout the entire week. The weekend is about to come up, which means tonight is yet another episode of SmackDown on Fox. And normally, WWE has a complete preview with matches, with in-ring segments set up for SmackDown, but that isn't really the case. All you can really find on WWE.com about tonight's SmackDown episode so far, they might release some news later on, is the fact that Roman Reigns will be Unchained, and he will deal with King Corbin and Dolph Ziggler. This after what they did to him last week, after handcuffing him behind the post and then bathing him in dog food. Again, with King Corbin continuing this entire storyline, this entire thread of calling him the big dog and having that big old dumb puppet, or I don't know what you call the big guys, the big costume guys. But essentially, it's just more and more build up to their TLC match at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs this Sunday, which we will get to later on in the show when we get to the predictions for this Sunday's pay-per-view event. So with that said, another thing that I'm very interested in knowing is whether or not the upcoming match at TLC between The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, and The Miz is going to be for the Universal Championship. They haven't made it official. As far as I know, as far as anybody knows, the match between Wyatt and The Miz is a non-title match. Essentially, The Miz is just fighting for his family's honor. And that's okay. That's all good and well. But, Bray Wyatt is the champion. He's going to have a match at a pay-per-view. He should defend the title. That's at least my opinion. Okay, and I know, WWE proved me wrong. I predicted Wyatt versus Daniel Bryan at TLC Round 2. That did not happen. But again, the Fiend character is unstoppable right now. So why not put the Universal Championship on the line at TLC? It's not like he's going to lose. It's not like they're going to have him lose to The Miz at TLC. That'd be pretty stupid, in my mind at least. So with that said, we'll just have to wait and see what kind of matches we get on tonight's episode of SmackDown. We also got New Day versus The Revival on the SmackDown side of things for TLC. Been there, done that. So, yeah, tune into Fox. Let's just wait and see what goes down on that broadcast on the Go Home show for TLC. And, like I keep saying throughout the entire week, just like most of our lives right now, wrestling companies as a whole are pretty much on autopilot. It's just a matter of getting through this entire month, getting through these holidays, and after you get through these holidays, you can start revving it up. You can start pumping gas once more. But right now, it's just like people are busy. They're not really as excited to watch wrestling as they used to be or as they should be. So we're just going to keep it on autopilot. We're just going to do our show, and eventually they'll come back, because eventually this entire season will go away. So with that said, moving on to our second segment, and most wrestling news websites online are reporting that for the first time in the Wednesday Night Wars history, there has been a tie in viewership. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Both NXT on the USA Network and AEW Dynamite on TNT garnered 778,000 viewers, placing them at a tie. This according to Show Buzz Daily. Now, I have to remind you that, every single numbers that are posted on these websites or that are reported by these websites are approximate. 778,000 viewers exactly were not watching each show. No. That's just a roundup. That's just an approximate number. So essentially, somebody won this battle in the Wednesday Night Wars this past Wednesday night. Apparently the numbers were too close to actually decide it. So again, let's just call this a tie and move on. Which again, I called the fact that NXT was going to win this week and NXT was going to win next week because of how they've been setting up title matches. And I still believe that. I still believe NXT might have still gotten a little bit more of the pie against AEW last Wednesday night. And I still believe that next week NXT is going to garner more viewership because we're going to get the main event between Finn Balor and Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. That, in my mind, trumps any title match that AEW puts on, especially the Young Bucks versus SCU. Nothing against the tag team title match, but it's not at the level of the main event title match that NXT has planned. The one thing AEW has going for it right now is this entire Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho Inner Circle storyline. Inviting Jon Moxley into the Inner Circle. That's what's making AEW programming interesting to me. That's really the only reason I would want to tune in as of right now. But again, we'll just have to wait and see what happens next week. But you know, numbers are getting closer and closer and closer to each show, and this is a far cry from back in October when both NXT and AEW made their debuts on their respective networks with slightly upwards of 1 million viewers. So yeah, they've got to work on it. They've got to concentrate on getting back to that 1 million viewers, and hopefully they can get there by putting on great shows. Moving on to our third segment, and one news piece that makes me extremely sad and extremely embarrassed of just how people can be. Because Lana has stated in an interview with comicbook.com that she has received death threats over the Bobby Lashley and Rusev storyline. And that WWE and apparently the FBI, according to the news report, have gotten involved. And yeah. So I'm just going to get to the story. I'm going to get to her quotes. And then I'm going to give my opinion on this. Lana, this is what Lana had to say to comicbook.com about the death threats she's received. And this was all out of character. She wasn't playing that character that we just saw on Monday Night Raw, that award-winning performance from Lana. She wasn't playing that. She was, for all intents and purposes, CJ Perry. I think, yeah, CJ. And I quote, "I personally have received a lot of death threats. I've gotten calls from like WWE and the FBI, people actually threatening WWE. Having death threats on me, and the FBI has had to call me and protect me. And I get death threats on my comments on Instagram, on Twitter. I mean, people are bullies. I mean, today I opened my email account and I had this death threat on my email. But it was just like the names that people call are just, it's just appalling. It's absolutely appalling. You know, cyberbullying is a big cause of suicide. And I just want to speak out on it. As like, that is really, really, really wrong. It's completely wrong. People really need to think before they comment. Because all they're doing is they're hiding behind the screen and they're being mean. And you know, the people want to be responsible for people killing themselves. I'm going to continue to strongly speak out about it because I think that there's a lot of people that are victims of cyberbullying, and it really affects their entire life, and it's wrong, and it needs to stop. Those were Lana's words in terms of cyberbullying and in terms of the death threats that she's received. With those quotes said, with the story out there in the open, what kind of fucking idiot people threaten a human being who's doing her job, who's playing a character that, okay, you might not like, you might not enjoy watching, you might be slightly offended by that character. I don't know, whatever reason you have, the best solution you can get, the best solution you can apply is just stop watching. Just stop watching. Don't fucking death threat. Don't fucking send threats to anyone over a fucking entertainment show. Okay? This is an entertainment show. This Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, everything. They're playing characters on TV. If you don't like it, stop watching. That's that. It's just that damn simple. And it's something that pisses the hell out of me because it's not just here. I'm a soccer fan. And I've read stories where soccer players have received death threats themselves over a few results, over a few matches. And yes, when I'm watching my favorite team and somebody makes a mistake and my team loses, I get pissed. I get mad. I'm just that passionate about the team. But I don't fucking threaten nobody. Okay? I get angry. I'm pissed. It lasts a while. I move on. Life goes on. That's just that. And this show right here, ACB Wrestling Talk, this show, for as serious as I try to make it out to be, because this show is produced by a wrestling fan talking about wrestling news, talking about wrestling itself in a passionate way because I love wrestling. But you know what? Wrestling is a petty problem at most. Wrestling is insignificant in the bigger scheme of things. This show, what I am talking about right now, what I'm going to talk about later on in the show, later on in the year, next year, the year after that, this show does not matter to the point where you risk your health, both mental, physical, emotional, everything. You risk your well-being. You risk your family. It does not matter. This show, wrestling, anything, any form of entertainment is not above human beings. It's not about community. It's not above community. It's not above people's lives. It just isn't. And when you get fucking idiots who threaten people who are doing their jobs, who take it personally, so personally that they have to resort to cyberbullying, that's just sad as hell. It's pathetic. You control your own emotions. You control your own happiness. And if you're watching a show on TV and you get so mad that you have to resort to cyberbullying, I'm sorry. I really am sorry for the state that your life is in. Because it's so damn bad. So damn low that you have to resort to that, something like that, to try and feel better. The fact that something like this makes you feel better? Come on. Come on. I mean, that's all I have to say about this segment. That's all I have to say about these news. And hopefully that idiot gets caught and gets sent to jail, because cyberbullying and especially death threats do get you prison time. It's a very serious issue. And hopefully they find that motherfucking idiot who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. So with that said, let's go back to the show that ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't matter, because again, it's just a show. It's just one guy, one nobody, giving his opinion on a wrestling show. That's that. So back to the show. This Saturday night, NWA presents its, I believe its first pay-per-view since NWA 70 from last year. And they've called it Into the Fire. Now, if you recognize that name, it's because it's the name of the theme song for their YouTube show, Power. So with that said, let's get into some of the details. It's going to be happening this Saturday night, tomorrow night, in Atlanta, Georgia. We have quite a good card. First of all, Question Mark versus Trevor Murdoch. I'm going to be honest with you. Haven't been catching up with NWA Power so far. I believe they're on episode 10 or 11 by now. I'm just episode 4, episode 5. I've really been backed up and watching most of my wrestling shows because of other things. But for the most part, Question Mark versus Trevor Murdoch. I have to give this match to the Question Mark. To me, it's as simple as the name. You can't just have the Question Mark come in. I believe this is his first match, and then lose to Trevor Murdoch. Nothing against Trevor Murdoch, but you can't have him lose and then get unmasked. Not this soon, at least. So I gotta give it to the Question Mark. We also got a tag team match between Alexis Carrillo and Ashley Box, who are going to be facing a team comprised of Melina, Thunder Rose, or Marty Bell. Any combination of the three. Which makes it harder for me to predict this match, because Alexis Carrillo is the current NWA Women's Champion. It'd be easy to just say, she wins this match, she's the Women's Champion, she's got to get the win. But then you've got someone like Ashley Fox, who, from what I've seen from her, it's not that bad in the ring. She's green. She'll get there, but she could be the weak link in the Women's Champion team. And on the other side, you got 3 well-rounded wrestlers in Melina, Thunder Rosa, and Marty Bell. So again, flip of a coin, gotta go with Melina, Thunder Rosa, or Marty Bell. Whichever combination it turns out to be, that's who are gonna win. And of course, Eli Drake will face off against Ken Anderson. Now this is a match I'm excited about because Eli Drake has been one of my favorite superstars, one of my favorite wrestlers ever since he first made his debut back in TNA Wrestling in 2015 as a part of The Rising. And I've been wanting him to be the face of a company for so damn long. I was hoping he would be that for Impact Wrestling. Management at Impact and Eli Drake himself had different plans. They split. Now, I believe Eli Drake gets to win over Ken Anderson. I believe Eli Drake needs to be the one to dethrone Nick Aldis for the NWA World Championship. I believe Eli Drake needs to be the one to dethrone Nick Aldis as the face of the NWA. Can he do that? Will he do that? We'll just have to wait and see. But as far as Saturday night goes, he will win his match against Ken Anderson. We've also got the surprising NWA World Tag Team Champions, the legends themselves, the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, defending their tag team titles against the former champions, the Wild Cards, Thomas Latimer and Royce Isaacs. And when I talk about Thomas Latimer, I can't help but want to call him Bram, because he was such a great character on Impact. Bram. And because of that, again, the Rock and Roll Express are legends, and they're getting their 15 minutes of spotlight right now in the current incarnation of NWA. I believe the tag team titles will have to go back to the Wild Cards this Saturday at Into the Fire. We've also got the NWA National Championship on the line when Colt Cabana defends his title against the actor Aaron Stevens and the biggest up-and-comer star in NWA today, the man Ricky Starks. This is as simple as 1, 2, 3. As simple as a pinfall. Ricky Starks becomes the new NWA National Champion. When you got someone as entertaining as Ricky Starks, you've got to give him the spotlight. You've got to give him the opportunity to shine. And to me, that means making him the NWA National Champion. And to me, that means pitting him in a feud for the next few weeks against Colt Cabana on NWA Power YouTube TV. And finally, we get to the main event of tomorrow night's show. Nick Aldis, the national treasure, defends his 10 pounds of gold in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship against the Cowboy James Storm, former NWA National Champion James Storm. Now, the first fall, I believe, is going to be refereed by Brian Hebner. The second fall is going to be refereed by former NWA World Champion Tim Storm, who has some beef with Nick Aldis. We do have to take that into consideration. And the third fall, again, these matches usually always have a third fall, so the third fall is going to be refereed, and this is just me speculating, it hasn't been confirmed, it's going to be refereed by Tim Storm. You have to keep that drama for the entirety of the match. As far as who comes out with the world title, I wouldn't mind seeing James Storm become NWA World Champion for a while. I wouldn't mind it. I think the end game right here is keep Nick Aldis World Champion, keep him the face of the company, build up Eli Drake on the side, prepare him to be the big defining feud that brings people and brings those those eyeballs to the NWA Power broadcast. That's my view. But as far I don't think James Storm has 0% chance of coming out as NWA World Champion. But for now, I'm going to play it safe. Nick Aldis retains the world title. So here's my question for you. Have you pre-ordered Into the Fire, the Into the Fire pay-per-view? Will you be supporting NWA this upcoming Saturday night? Will you be attending the Into the Fire pay-per-view in Atlanta, Georgia? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions for the show on the comment section below. And finally, we get to the other pay-per-view preview for today's broadcast, and that is, of course, the WWE TLC 2019 preview to take place this Sunday on the WWE Network. And taking one glance, one look at the card right now, I'm happy to say that I'm glad that the WWE has the network to dump this pay-per-view on. Because again, there's Brock Lesnar is not going to defend his WWE Championship. It doesn't appear like Bray Wyatt is going to defend his Universal Championship. So I would not be purchasing this pay-per-view if it were just on traditional pay-per-view. So with that said, let's get into the predictions. Roman Reigns versus King Corbin in a tables, ladders, and chairs match. 1, 2, 3, pinfall victory. 4, obviously not pinfall victory. Roman Reigns gets the win. The big dog gets his big win over King Corbin. Of course, that won't shut him up, but it'll set Roman Reigns up perfectly to be a contender to win the Royal Rumble match in January. The New Day versus the Revival for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. We've seen this before. They've gone back and forth with the tag team titles. It's a toughie. It's very tough. Simply because, again, we've seen this before. The New Day have just become tag team champions, and to go back to the Revival as tag team champions, I gotta keep it on the New Day. I'm gonna give it to the New Day. Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy, and this is what I'm talking about. Not wanting to purchase this pay-per-view. Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy. Great performers, great in-ring performers, great wrestlers. Their characters right now are not at a point where I'm invested in them. I know they have potential, especially Aleister Black. They should be doing a lot more with Aleister Black, especially since I'm not interested in an Aleister Black match on pay-per-view. So, to me, this Aleister Black versus Buddy Murphy match just seems like another run-of-the-mill, routine Monday Night Raw match. With that said, Aleister Black gets the win over Buddy Murphy. The Kabuki Warriors defend their Women's Tag Team Champions against the team of Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair in a tables, ladders, and chairs match. Now this will be match of the night. This will steal the show. These 4 women are 4 of the most talented, not just women's wrestlers, but all around performers in the entire WWE roster today. I have no doubt they're gonna put on a great show this Sunday night at TLC. Do you want Lynch and Flair to be tag champs? Why not? Why not? Doesn't seem like any other tag team right now in the women's division can put up a good fight against the Kabuki Warriors. And Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch we're putting up a pretty good fight on their own in a 2-on-1 handicap match on the past few Raws. So what the hell? Brand new women's tag team champions, the Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair. Let's add some tension to that friendship rivalry. The Viking Raiders issue an open challenge for the Raw Tag Team titles at TLC. And all I'm going to say here is, we want the smoke. Let's place those tag team titles on the Street Profits. Let's get some interest into the Raw Tag Team division. Rusev versus Bobby Lashley in a tables match. This is very easy to predict. As much as I would want Bobby Lashley to win this match because I want him to be as dominant as ever because that's his moniker, that's what he looks like. If Rusev loses this match against Lashley at TLC, it's going to be very hard for him to recuperate in the eyes of the fans. He's already been made to look like a chump, like a total chump in the eyes of the WWE Universe because of Lana, because of Lashley. So give this tables match to Rusev. Come on. And finally, Bray Wyatt versus The Miz in a non-title match. I said it at the beginning of the show. It'd be stupid as hell to have Bray Wyatt, The Fiend, lose this match. I know The Miz is fighting for his family. I know that you want a happy ending, and he's a babyface, and he should be doing this, and he should be winning this match. But you got The Fiend, you got Bray Wyatt. WrestleMania season is about to come up. Protect the character, protect the mystique, protect the aura of The Fiend. Make that happen, WWE. Don't be stupid. So with that said, that's been it for today's broadcast of ACB Wrestling Talk on this very, very nice Friday, December 13th, Friday the 13th. So with that said, have a great weekend. That's it for me. See you Monday.